Have you ever trusted your mother-in-law with your child and instantly regretted it? One mom, 9 months pregnant, found out her toxic MIL took her allergic toddler to a restaurant against doctor's orders. Was it careless love or deliberate disrespect? This crazy MIL story will leave you questioning family loyalty. Have you ever been in that moment where your gut screams something's not right, but your mind is still trying to catch up? Our storyteller, just days away from giving birth, had one job on her mind: protecting her child. Her 3-year-old had recently been diagnosed with some pretty serious food allergies: wheat, soy, and tomatoes. The kind of diagnosis that turns your whole world upside down. Grocery shopping becomes an Olympic sport. Reading food labels becomes your new full-time job. And dining out? Off the table. Literally. Now, here's where the situation gets real. The family had just started a 12-week elimination diet, a strict process carefully mapped out by the allergist to figure out how sensitive the child truly was to these allergens. The doctor had one firm warning: avoid restaurants at all costs, especially because soy is notoriously difficult to dodge when eating out. For any parent out there, you know that one slip-up can reset weeks of progress, or worse, send your child into a dangerous reaction. But here's the twist, the kind that makes toxic mother-in-law stories trend on every relationship drama podcast. The mother-in-law had flown in to help during this stressful time. She was told clearly that the toddler wasn't allowed to eat out, that they had one safe place, a specialty bakery, and beyond that, it was homemade meals only. And to be fair, at first, things seemed okay. The MIL offered to take the child to her Airbnb to do arts and crafts. Sweet, right? The mom, needing rest and trusting family, packed a bag of safe snacks and said yes. 2 hours later, she received a photo. Not a text asking permission, not a phone call checking in, just a picture of her 3-year-old, smiling, seated at a restaurant table, eating a full plate of unknown food. Now, pause. Think of how you'd feel in that exact moment. This wasn't just an overstep, it was a violation of trust, the kind that makes you question, was this thoughtless or deliberate? Because let's be honest, anyone who's been around a child with allergies knows how serious this is. Yet some narcissistic mother-in-law types just don't seem to believe rules apply to them. Or maybe they think you're being too dramatic. Ever heard that one? And here's the kicker. Now the entire elimination diet must restart. Weeks of effort gone. All because one person decided they knew better. So, here's the question I'll leave you with. When family puts your child's safety at risk, even unintentionally, do you forgive and move on, or set firm boundaries, even if it causes conflict? Is this just one of those crazy mill stories, or something deeper about control, respect, and the pressure so many parents feel navigating toxic family dynamics? Let me know what you'd do in her shoes. Now here's where it gets even more complicated, because it's not just about the mother-in-law. AI dili boyani dai ar, sepeni koreka, salala, eluyaba sulan son, metchage, feasi, sie, yelosti, konson, alegula, mobason, silon son, salaka, esalun, gina, me, salali, goteka, salasulan, charan koma, gonaza, esa kamala, su, menya, ali pa, salakota, dehekuma, salala, elia, eyani, ia kuna, elia, kilami, kolayemi, chalamkili, kehala, dalia, luze, alia, ia, kiala, kepoli, kalapite, ki konale, lilama, achili, geye, kolemi, eya, chetu, eli, jali, kola, eli, kola, nia, eli, kola, nia, eli, kola ni. Like call again, to shoe. One of the things to a new AI, eluye dili pa. In 1937, the later things that gonna shoe open to a life, that each thing you get and Jay's page, that the mother-in-law, rending shoes, that leader stops people, even it's closely. In lates of write it with mother leaps, unlined to the circin, unlined to the day, without gone constantly AI, You align to the Lieb, enlight this close with you in stations. Enlight the AI, enlight the raise you onium plays, that leader onium plays, online to the state. She's times light this close, the EOR, enlight the stations in moddering, enlight this, state nominer, to get some of the leaps well take, that lang save axe, change J's pig, enlight the state, enlight the conflades, that all intention to share, enlight the tag, enlight the success, enlight the state, enlight the Beth, enlight the station, enlight the data, enlight the say, enlight the question, enlight the central capture life, but even not just a link, enlight the day, enlight the tag, enlight the sound, enlight the AI, enlight the family parcels 7 minutes, method station light the state, when they're parts of new data, enlight the nudes, that leader seleciate, enlight the parts boned, enlight the day, enlight the story, enlight the crazy and visual, enlight the station, enlight the dage basically, enlight the parts daw stacks feasta, enlight the dage campass, enlight the strung, enlight the dage doll, enlight the dage gown town, enlight the day, enlight the story, enlight the dage daw, enlight the strung, enlight the dage. After partner doesn't have your back. After seeing that photo, her daughter eating God knows what at a random restaurant, the mom was in shock. But what hit her harder? Her husband's reaction. She expected outrage, support, something. Instead, he shrugged it off. He told her she was overreacting. Let that sit for a moment. You're 39 weeks pregnant, 5 centimeters dilated, dealing with high-risk food allergies and asthma in a toddler, and your partner minimizes your fears. That, right there, is the silent betrayal so many women face in husband-mom drama. Because sometimes, the battle isn't just with the toxic mother-in-law, it's with the man caught in the middle, who too often chooses peace over protection. She wasn't asking for drama. She didn't demand confrontation. Here's something nobody really talks about: when keeping the peace feels more painful than starting a war. After her husband brushed off the restaurant incident, this mom realized she was standing alone, not just emotionally, but logistically. The due date was days away, her body was preparing for labor, and yet her mind was stuck in crisis mode. She wanted to focus on her baby. Instead, she was running mental drills. What if her toddler starts wheezing at 2 a.m.? What if the food had hidden soy or tomato? What if she's in labor and her child's asthma flares up while in the care of someone who had already ignored medical boundaries? It wasn't about anger anymore. It was about fear. And crazy MIL stories often start just like this. One moment where someone thinks they know better, and the mother is left cleaning up the emotional fallout. So, she sat down with her husband again. Calmly, clearly, she told him, "I know you don't want drama, neither do I, but your mum cannot be trusted with our child right now." And guess what? He still didn't get it. He called her too anxious, accused her of being hormonal. Let's pause right there. If you've ever been dismissed like that, especially during pregnancy, you know how soul-crushing it feels. It's not just invalidating, it's a message. Your instincts don't matter here. This wasn't just a wife versus mother-in-law story. It had become a deeper fracture in the marriage itself, one that so many people silently endure. One partner tries to appease their parent, the other tries to protect their child, and in the middle, silence, resentment, distance. The mom eventually made her own choice, quietly. She arranged for her own parents to come stay the moment labor started. No big confrontation, just boundaries in action. And that's something we don't talk about enough in toxic family Reddit threads or relationship drama podcasts. Not every boundary has to come with a screaming match. Sometimes the loudest boundary is simply saying no and walking away from the chaos. She didn't blast her MIL. She didn't give her husband an ultimatum. She just took control of what she could: her child's safety, her postpartum space, her mental health. And honestly, That takes more strength than any argument ever could. So let me ask you this. When you know you're right, but no one around you validates your fear, do you stand firm or keep the peace? Is setting a boundary with family, even your spouse, worth risking the relationship? Let's talk about how we protect what matters most, even when it hurts. What happens when a narcissistic mother-in-law realizes she's no longer the default caregiver? It didn't take long for the ripple effects to begin. After the mum arranged for her parents to watch their toddler during labor, the mother-in-law got the message, without a single word being spoken. She wasn't going to be the trusted go-to anymore, and she didn't take it well. The passive-aggressive comments started first. "I guess some people think they know better than the doctor." Then came the guilt-tripping. "I flew across the country just to be shut out." And finally, what always shows up in toxic family Reddit threads and family betrayal podcast episodes, a sudden burst of tears and victimhood. "I was just trying to help. Why is everyone treating me like a monster?" Let's pause. That reaction right there? That's textbook behavior in so many crazy MIL stories. The moment boundaries are enforced, they play the victim. Not because they're hurt, but because they lost control. And here's where things got more complicated. Her husband started to crack. He didn't want to fight. He didn't want to take sides. So instead, he started doing what many husbands in husband-mom drama situations do: minimize, deflect, deny. "Can't we just move on? She didn't mean any harm. She's just not used to being left out." But what about the wife? The woman who carried their child, the one who built a medical plan, followed it for weeks, and had it sabotaged? Where was her peace? Where was her support? This is what makes stories like these so difficult. Because it's not just about one boundary being crossed. It's about a whole dynamic being exposed. When a mother-in-law is used to having influence and a husband is used to keeping the peace, the wife becomes the problem simply for protecting herself and her child. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Sometimes, protecting your peace looks a lot like betrayal, to the ones who were never really on your side. The mom didn't explode, she didn't create a scene, she just stopped explaining and let her actions speak. Her parents stepped in, the MIL sulked, the husband wavered, but the baby was born safely. The toddler stayed healthy, fortunately personal countries, and for once, the mother felt in control of her own family unit. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers. So let me ask you, have you ever had to quietly step away from a toxic dynamic, even when everyone around you begged you to just let it go? Do you think this mom made the right call? Or should she have handled her MIL differently? Let's open this up. Drop your thoughts. Because in these narcissistic mother-in-law stories, silence isn't peace, it's just the start of the storm. How do you move forward with a toxic mother-in-law without burning the whole family bridge? After the baby arrived, the air felt heavy, not with celebration, but with quiet tension. The mother-in-law stayed distant, not exactly angry, just wounded, or pretending to be, the kind of cold silence that only shows up in narcissistic mother-in-law dynamics, where no apology is given, but you're expected to move on anyway. The new mom, still healing physically and emotionally, tried to hold her ground. She didn't want drama, she didn't want revenge, she just wanted peace for her baby, for herself, for her family. But even after all this, her husband was still stuck in the middle. And here's the thing. That's where many husbands in these husband-mom drama stories stay, forever neutral, but never actually supportive. He didn't want to upset his mom, but his silence upset his wife. He didn't want to pick sides, but by not picking, he already had. And that's something we see a lot in Just Nomil podcast moments, when silence becomes the loudest betrayal. Now, the mom had a choice. She could keep pushing for her husband to see the light. Or she could focus on what she could control. And that's exactly what she did. She set clear boundaries. She limited unsupervised visits. She documented her daughter's medical needs, made them non-negotiable, and shared them with her parents, and only them. She didn't scream. She didn't lash out. She didn't write long texts explaining herself. She just acted differently. And slowly, people adjusted. Was it easy? No. Was the relationship with her MIL repaired? Not exactly, but the power dynamic shifted, and more importantly, her child stayed safe. Her peace returned, and over time, even her husband began to realize that what looked like overreacting was actually just a mother protecting her child in a world where even family doesn't always listen. Now, let's bring it home. If you've ever had to draw a line with a toxic family member, you already know it's never about winning, it's about surviving without guilt. So here's what I want to know from you today. Drop a guilt if you think this mom did the right thing, ends, or comment mill drama if you've ever had to set boundaries like this in your own family. And hey, if you've made it this far, hit that follow button. We drop new episodes every week, diving deep into real life, crazy mill stories, family betrayal podcast moments, and all the relationship drama that nobody talks about, but everybody lives through. Because sometimes, surviving family means learning how to say no and not apologizing for it. See you in the next episode.